The night before I was supposed to marry Sarah, her worst enemy died in a car wreck. That was the exact moment I found out she had been keeping a secret. She was actually deeply in love with him. At the scene of the crash, she held onto his body and cried harder than I had ever seen her cry. To deal with her guilt, she decided to put our wedding on hold. She took his ashes and went on a trip all around the world. Once she felt like she had found some peace. She came home, ready to settle down and finally marry me. It was only when she got back that she found out about the other body at the crash site, the one nobody had paid any attention to. It was mine. The day I got back from my business trip, I ended up in an accident right in front of Sarah's office building. It was around noon. The sun was shining down, but it didn't feel warm. It just felt like light hitting my skin without any heat. I was floating there in the middle of the street, staring blankly as Sarah knelt on the asphalt, screaming and crying. Her eyes were bright red as she held the face of the man in her arms. She looked completely devastated, like her whole world had ended. I looked down at Sarah's side profile, and a heavy, dull pain spread through my chest. The man she was holding wasn't me. It was Julian, her nemesis. In the business world, they were always fighting. In their private lives, they tried to ruin each other. Whenever Sarah talked about him, she would make a face like she smelled something bad. But right now, she looked like a lost kid, burying her face in Julian's neck. The noises she was making told the whole story of a secret, painful love. "Julian, get up. Open your eyes and look at me. I promise I won't fight with you anymore," she sobbed. "Don't scare me like this. Please just wake up." I felt confused and bitter. I looked over at Julian helplessly. Sarah had wiped the blood and dirt off his face. She was holding him so carefully and gently that he just looked like he was sleeping. Meanwhile, I was lying a little ways away, looking like a discarded toy. I was a total mess. The wind had blown up the corner of my white shirt, exposing my stomach for everyone to see. And yet, from the start of this whole thing until the end, my fiancée never once noticed that I was lying right there. She didn't notice me even though I was wearing the white shirt she had bought for me. She didn't notice even when the sun caught my engagement ring and made it flash brightly. Her eyes were only looking at Julian. The paramedics arrived, looking sorry for everyone involved. They covered me up with a white sheet and quickly lifted me onto a stretcher. As they rolled me past Sarah, she suddenly looked up. I froze in place. I thought maybe she had recognized me. But a second later, she scooped Julian up into her arms, ran forward and shoved my stretcher out of the way. She fell to her knees in front of the paramedics. "Doctor, please, I am begging you, save him." To almost everyone who knew her, Sarah was a cool, composed woman who rarely showed what she was feeling. Even with me, she was always a bit held back. Even when we were intimate, she would just whisper quietly in my ear, calling me a good guy in short breaths. But right now, for Julian, the guy who had stolen so many clients from her, she was on her knees in front of a crowd, sobbing without caring about her dignity at all. I looked closely at Sarah's face. Her features usually looked perfect, like a statue, but now they were twisted up with raw emotion. She looked almost crazy. I finally understood what was happening. It wasn't that she didn't know how to express her feelings. It was just that her anger, her disgust, and her love were all saved for Julian. The love I thought we had, which I thought went deep, disappeared in a second. I felt sick to my stomach and backed away because I didn't want to look at her anymore. Suddenly, I saw a phone with a smashed screen lying on the ground. It had a black case and a metal charm attached to it. It was Julian's phone. The screen was still on, and showing his text messages with Sarah. The last two texts were from Sarah. "I'm getting married." And Julian's reply, "Wait for me." Then I remembered exactly how I died. I hadn't told Sarah I was coming back early from my trip. As soon as my plane landed, I went straight to her office because I wanted to surprise her. I remembered how she had leaned against the doorframe before I left, her voice soft as she told me she would miss me and that she would marry me the second I got back. Thinking about that made me walk faster, but then I ran into Julian downstairs in the lobby. He was holding his phone, and he sounded arrogant. He looked at me with pure dislike. "Did you see that, Ben? If I don't say it's okay, this wedding isn't happening. She hates me, sure, but she loves me more. I'm the only one who is her equal." He looked at my messy travel clothes and smirked. "I hope you're smart enough to back out on your own. I'd rather not have to deal with you myself." I slapped him across the face. I don't remember much after that. Just a few blurry images. A van spinning out of control, people screaming, and the image of Sarah stumbling as she ran toward Julian. For some reason, my soul couldn't go very far from Sarah. I followed her to the hospital, but Julian's family kicked me out. When she got back to her apartment, Sarah locked herself inside, turned off her phone, and curled up on the couch, drinking heavily until she passed out. She used to say alcohol was bad for your brain. She hadn't even had a drink at our engagement party. But now she was drinking all day and night. Like she wanted to kill herself with booze to go join Julian. On the fourth day, our friend Mike broke the door down with his assistant, Dave. Without saying a word, Mike punched her. "Sarah, I know you're hurting, but you have to pull it together today. Are you seriously not going to go to his funeral?" The punch made Sarah's head snap to the side. Her hair was messy and fell over her face, making her look old and tired. She let out a small, sad laugh. "Mike, I regret it. I should have listened to my gut earlier. When Julian was alive, I was always fighting him. He never even knew I loved him." Mike stared at her. "Julian? I'm talking about Ben." Hearing my name, Sarah froze for a second. She closed her eyes and rubbed her head, looking annoyed. Her voice sounded rough. "Did he send you? Julian is dead. What is his problem?" "Trying to compete with a dead man? It's not like I'm saying I won't marry him. The wedding is just delayed. Tell him to stop making a big deal out of this." I rested my chin on my hand and stared at her. There wasn't any guilt in her dark eyes. Right. Of course. She didn't know I was dead too. The assistant, Dave, opened his mouth to say something, but Mike cut him off by raising his hand. He looked down at Sarah for a long time. Then he sneered. "Fine. Since you've made your choice, I'll talk to him when he gets back from his trip. I hope you don't regret this." He turned around and left, with Dave following nervously behind him. I followed them into the stairwell and heard Dave ask quietly, "Aren't we going to tell Miss Vance about Ben?" Mike paused. He sounded tired. "I'll handle his arrangements. Don't tell Sarah yet." "She can't handle it. And honestly," he added, "Ben probably doesn't want to see her anyway." I leaned against the wall, watching Mike's red eyes, and gave a sad smile. The three of us grew up together in an orphanage and went to the same college. After we graduated, we started our company together. Back then, Sarah and I lived in a tiny basement apartment. She would come home from a fancy business dinner, see me eating instant noodles, and hug me, feeling bad for me. She swore she would never let me down, that she would give me a happy home. Back then, her biggest dream was to marry me and have a huge party. Now she lives in a big downtown apartment, and her biggest problem is figuring out how to get rid of me. 3 days later, I still hadn't found a way to leave Sarah's side. But surprisingly, she had showered and cleaned herself up. I was confused, so I followed her until she knelt down in front of Julian's family mansion. Then I got it. She wanted Julian's ashes. Even though I saw it coming, my heart still hurt. A week had gone by. She hadn't once wondered why I wasn't back, or if something bad had happened to me. Instead, she was kneeling at her rival's house, begging for his remains. Julian's family only cared about money. They didn't care that one of their sons had died. They just wanted to get whatever value they could out of him. They wanted to trade Julian's ashes for the most important project I was managing. I had worked on that project for months. I pulled all-nighters, drank with clients until I felt sick, and even ended up in the hospital on an IV for 3 days just to secure the deal. At the time, Sarah had gotten mad at me, which she rarely did, telling me I wasn't taking care of myself. But now, she agreed to their deal without thinking twice. On top of the heartbreak, I felt regret. All my hard work for our future was just used as a bargaining chip for her to chase after Julian. Julian's half-sister, Isabel, brought the urn out. Sarah took it, her hands shaking. The lights outside flickered. She looked down, her dark eyelashes casting a shadow on her pale face. A single tear rolled out of her eye. "Thank you," she said, her voice disappearing into the wind. The last bit of love I had for her died right then. After leaving the mansion, Sarah went straight to the airport. On the way there, she got a call from Mike. He sounded frantic. "Dave said you booked a ticket for a cruise around the world. You're leaving today?" "Sarah, are you crazy?" Sarah held the phone away from her ear without saying anything. She held the urn tight, looking at it with a soft look in her eyes. "Yes, Julian and I," she said with a small smile. "We missed out on so many years together. I don't want any more regrets. I want to love him completely for 1 year. As for Ben, let's just push the wedding back." Mike was quiet for a long time, and then he yelled, unable to hold it in anymore. "You still have the nerve to talk about Ben? Ben is dead. He died right in front of you." Sarah looked down and sighed quietly. "Mike, why are you playing along with his games? I haven't left the house in days. How could he have died in front of me? Don't make bad jokes like that." Mike laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "I'm not joking. If you don't believe me." "That's enough, Mike." "Nothing you say will make me come back," Sarah interrupted, her voice hard. "With you and Ben at the company, I'm not worried." She sounded very sure of herself. "You only live once. Just let me be selfish this one time." She hung up, took the SIM card out of her phone and snapped it in half. I stared at the black screen, imagining Mike's angry face. With his temper, I was worried about him running the business by himself. He always got angry, easily, even back in school. When I got the highest score on our first monthly exam in senior year, I came to class the next day to find my desk filled with trash and the word cheater carved into the wood. Before I could do anything, Mike threw his backpack down, grabbed the guy who did it by the shirt, and dragged him into the hall. Sarah quietly got me a cup of water, cleaned my desk, and went to get the security footage from the teacher. I didn't have to do anything except keep getting the highest score. Looking back, that's how we always worked. Mike was the muscle, Sarah was the brain, and I held everything together. We needed each other. And now Mike had lost both of his partners at the same time. I was worried about him. Sarah, however, wasn't worried at all. After the plane landed, she even went to get Julian a nicer urn. It was made of black stone with simple patterns carved into it. It was quiet and reserved, the exact opposite of Julian's loud personality. I remembered the first time I saw Julian. The three of us had gone to a club for Mike's birthday. In the middle of the loud dance floor, Julian stood out. He was handsome and wearing a red suit. He stumbled into Sarah's arms because he was drunk, and they looked at each other. Maybe it was the mood, but he gave me a challenging look and then pulled Sarah in and kissed her. Sarah froze. She pushed him away hard and stepped back. "Who is this weirdo?" she muttered, frowning at Julian, who had fallen onto some broken glass. Then she turned and took my hand. She sounded disgusted, but I noticed her ear was turning red. Julian's hand got cut that night, leaving a scar. After that, he always wore gloves. Sarah probably felt guilty about it. That must be why she was now holding a carving knife, ignoring the cuts on her own fingers, as she carved his name onto the urn. My beloved Julian. 3 words mixed with blood and tears, full of guilt and love that came too late. I stood on the balcony of the cruise ship room, feeling the sea breeze. Sunlight came through the curtains, moving across Sarah's face. She looked down as she gently wiped the blood off the urn. It was just like the day I arrived at the orphanage, when she used her small hands to wipe the tears and snot off my face. Back then, she comforted me awkwardly. "Don't be afraid, Ben. I'll always protect you." Honestly, traveling the world with Sarah, aside from being sickening to watch, was a pretty nice experience. I had never been to such beautiful places. She would plan the schedule days in advance, then take Julian's ashes with her, taking pictures of the scenery and explaining the history of the places we visited. When people asked, she would admit it openly. "This is my partner." As for our engagement ring, she had casually given it to a street artist during the first part of the trip. She traded it for an oil painting of her and Julian hugging in the club. The trip went smoothly, but sometimes Sarah would just stare at the mountains, lost in thought. We used to be so poor that we didn't have the time or money to travel. We would just dream about it in our rented room. But when we finally had money, we just got busier. She said for our honeymoon we would go see the Northern Lights. She said when we were old, we would retire somewhere quiet. But I never made it to the wedding, and I never got to grow old. It just shows that nothing lasts forever. One day, months later, Sarah walked by a men's suit shop. Maybe the suit in the window caught her eye, but she stopped. I moved closer to look. The suit was sharp. It looked very similar to the one Sarah and I had tried on together. Sarah stood there silently, her eyes looking sad and nostalgic. That night she held her phone and sat by the hotel window, looking through our old photos for hours. From high school to college to now. In almost every photo, I was looking at the camera and she was looking at me. Finally, her finger stopped on my high school graduation picture. She looked at the eyes of my 18-year-old self. A second later, as if she got burned, she dropped the phone and rubbed her ring finger. But it was empty. She had traded the ring for a painting a long time ago. I stood beside her, watching her without feeling anything. What was she afraid of? Was she remembering how much she used to love me? Afraid she made the wrong choice? It didn't matter anymore. I hadn't done anything wrong. The things I needed to rethink were my judgment and my choices, not my honesty or my love. The next morning, for the first time, Sarah left the room without Julian's ashes. She went to a store and ordered a new pair of matching rings. The design was called Rebirth. The saleswoman smiled. For your wedding with your husband? Sarah smiled just a little bit, looking peaceful. No, she said, for a new beginning. That evening, she buried Julian's ashes on a quiet island, whispering to him all night. I have to go. Ben is still waiting for me. I let him down once. I can't make the same mistake again. But I don't regret loving you. We weren't meant to be in this life. In the next one, we'll be together properly. After burying Julian, Sarah booked a flight home immediately. After landing, she went straight to the office. She looked calm, but you could tell she was nervous and excited. That excitement disappeared completely after she searched the whole office and couldn't find me. She pushed open the door to Mike's office, looking impatient. I looked over her shoulder at Mike. I hadn't seen him in a year. He was thinner, but he looked more serious and mature. Seeing Sarah barge in, he just gave her a cold look. "Where's Ben? Is he avoiding me?" Sarah asked softly. She sounded tired. Mike stared at her. After a minute, he laughed coldly. "Didn't I tell you already? He's dead. He died in the same crash as Julian." Sarah froze. The ring box fell from her hand and clattered on the floor. The sun was bright, reflecting off the rolling rings. As if she suddenly realized something, she snapped her head up, her face turning white. "What did you say?" she asked, her voice sounding strained. Mike had lost his patience. He bent down, took some papers out of his safe, and threw them in her face. "He died with Julian right in front of you. Before he died, he was trying to crawl toward you to ask for help. Didn't you see him?" The sharp edge of the paper cut Sarah's skin. The impact made her head turn, and a little blood appeared on her cheek. She shook for a moment, staring at the white papers falling down. It was my death certificate. "No! Impossible! This isn't him!" she choked out, sinking to her knees and clutching her chest. I leaned in to look. "It's weird seeing your own death certificate. A few lines summarizing my 27 years. Mike's eyes were cold, and his voice was full of anger. "The day he came back from his trip, he went to the office to see you and ran into Julian. A van lost control and hit them. The brother I relied on for 20 years died just like that, right in front of you. And what were you doing? You were holding your enemy, crying and screaming for the doctors to save him. I handled his funeral by myself. I was worried you couldn't handle it, so I didn't tell you. I couldn't eat or sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ben crying. But what did you do? You left with the other guy's ashes and disappeared. Sarah, why wasn't it you who died that day?" I looked at Mike. His eyes were red, and my heart hurt for him. Now he was the only one I couldn't let go of. He was abandoned by his parents as a kid, and had finally found a family. Now he was alone again. Sarah's eyes were shaking. The next second, she started coughing hard. Blood came out of her mouth and stained her white shirt. She reached out slowly, tracing the death certificate. Name of deceased, Ben. Sex, male. She had written my name 1,000,000 times over the last 20 years. But now it was like she didn't recognize the letters. She traced them over and over, refusing to believe it. The bloodstain spread on the paper. Looking at Sarah holding my death certificate, I felt a sad kind of pity. I wasn't heartbroken for her. I was sad for the version of me who had tried so hard to live. The wind blew through a crack in the window, making a whistling sound. Mike was done. He walked over, grabbed her by the shirt, and glared at her. "Who are you trying to fool with this act? Don't pull this crap with me." Sarah gently pushed his hand away, wiped the blood from her mouth, and looked at Mike calmly. "Where are Ben's ashes?" Her voice was rough, and her eyes looked a little crazy. "He's still waiting for me to marry him. I still owe him a wedding. Let me see him." Mike took 2 steps back. "In your dreams." Sarah closed her eyes, looking hopeless. After a long pause, she finally spoke, crying. "Mike, I was his family too. I'm begging you, just let me see him one last time." Mike sneered. "Do you deserve to? The last thing Ben saw was you sobbing for another man. He'd be too busy hating you to ever want to see you." The color left Sarah's face. She was right. I didn't want to see her, but I didn't hate her that much. We had been through a lot. If not love, there was a family bond. I just had regrets. I regretted the days I spent wanting to build a life with her. Mike turned, opened the door, and called for his assistant. "Dave, show her out, and don't let her in again." Dave hesitated, then stepped forward to help Sarah up. But Sarah didn't move. She looked like she was already dead. Dave sighed. He stood up straight, sounding respectful, but saying something harsh. "Miss Vance, there's something you should know. Ben's business trip was supposed to be 2 weeks, but he worked overtime to be back for your birthday. He cut the trip down to a week just to surprise you. He never expected this. He wasn't supposed to die." Sarah's head shot up. "What did you say?" Dave ignored her and continued. "Oh, right. He also used to leave me a letter every time he went on a trip, telling me to give them to you if anything happened to him." He ran to his desk and came back with a stack of envelopes. I remembered. Every time I traveled, I wrote her a letter. A will, sort of. It wasn't really legal. It was for her peace of mind. Sarah's parents died in an accident when she was 4. It traumatized her. At the orphanage, she was always scared people would disappear. Once, I went on a trip with the director. When I got back, she cried all night, scared I had left for good. I couldn't sleep, so I did what my grandmother used to do. I held her and whispered, "Don't cry, I'm not leaving you." After that, it became a habit. Whenever she had a nightmare, I would hold her and tell her I was still there. Sarah's hands shook as she tore open the envelopes. I leaned in. I had forgotten what I wrote. I only remembered the first sentence of every letter was, "I'm not leaving you." Tears fell on the pages, blurring the ink. Sarah read every word. The rest was just like a diary. Sometimes I reminded her to take her medicine. Sometimes I told her to throw out old food. Sometimes I joked about wanting a centaur at my funeral. The last letter was written before my final trip. We had just decided to get married. I never thought anything would actually happen. So I didn't write a real will. I wrote about my dreams for the wedding. I wanted Mike to wear a bridesmaid dress as a joke. I wanted to replace the flowers with a cat toy so whoever caught it could adopt a kitten. I wanted to make Sarah wear a frog costume and dance. I wanted a lot of things. None of them could happen now. Who would have thought I'd die right outside the office? Sarah pressed the letters to her chest and screamed. It sounded like a dying animal. "Ben! Ben!" She shook, crying until she lost her voice. "Ben, come back! I was wrong! I was so wrong!" It seemed like only now did she really understand what she had lost. I crouched in front of her, looking at her face. Just like old times, I gently patted her head. My hand went right through her hair. I pulled my hand back, disappointed. Even though she couldn't hear me, I wanted to say it. Sarah, this time I'm the one who doesn't want you. Sarah cried until she passed out. Mike took her to the hospital. When she woke up, she was calmer. She stared at the ceiling. After a while, she looked at Mike, who was watching her, and swung her legs off the bed. Mike didn't move. It wasn't until he saw her climbing onto the windowsill that he rushed to stop her. "What are you doing?" He grabbed her and threw her onto the floor. Sarah struggled to stand up and tried to climb back onto the windowsill without saying a word. Mike punched her again. "What is wrong with you?" Sarah wiped blood from her nose. "That is." She spoke like it was a fact. "I'm going to be with Ben. He's timid. He must be scared by himself. You have to run the company, so you can't go. It makes sense for me to go." I jumped back in shock. "Oh, no, you don't. You would be annoying." Mike sneered. "Be with him? Do you deserve to? You should live a long life and spend the rest of it suffering for what you did." I doubted that. Someone like her wouldn't suffer for me forever. She buried Julian, the guy she supposedly loved, pretty quickly. Mike called in some orderlies. "Watch her. Don't let her die." Then he turned to Sarah and threatened her. "If you die, I'll dump your ashes in a sewer so you'll never see Ben again." Sarah didn't react. I started to panic. If she was trapped here, did that mean I was too? Mike, why would you do that to me? Orderlies can't stop someone who really wants to die. Sarah saved up her sleeping pills for 2 weeks. Then, one evening, she swallowed them all. I didn't really care if she died. I hadn't seen any other ghosts this whole time. I probably wouldn't see her after she died either. But as Sarah passed out, my own mind got fuzzy. Time moved fast. The sun moved across desks piled with papers. I was staring at a classroom. "Ben!" A girl's clear voice cut through the noise. I turned. 18-year-old Sarah, her hair slightly curled, was floating there in golden light. "Ben, it really is you!" Her eyes were red as she took my hand and pressed it to her cheek. "Are you here to take me with you? I heard that when people die, the person they love most comes to get them. It's true." The world went silent. I tried to pull my hand away, but she held on tight. "No." Sarah froze. "Why?" I laughed quietly. "Why? Did my love make you forget reality? What makes you think that after you die, I'd just forgive everything and come get you?" Sarah panicked. "No, Ben. I didn't know that was you next to him," she cried. I wiped my hand on my uniform, feeling disgusted. "Does it matter if you knew? You were the one holding him and crying, weren't you?" Sarah grabbed my hand again. "Ben, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I love you. I only want to be with you. She trailed off. "You just what?" I tilted my head. "You just got bored. You just got tired of it. You felt like life was boring and wanted excitement. You thought that because I was your family, I would always wait for you." I sighed and peeled her fingers off. "Sarah, you are a selfish person." I shouldn't have had any hope." Sarah squeezed her eyes shut. "Ben, I'm sorry." She probably didn't remember that she was the one who confessed first. She said she would never leave me. Now she was just saying sorry. "Ben, hit me, curse me, hate me. Just don't say you don't want me." I looked at her desperate face and laughed. "You know what, Sarah? After I died, my soul was stuck with you. I watched you cry for Julian. I watched you give away my project. I watched you take him on a trip. It was disgusting. I wanted to get away from you." She tried to grab me. "Ben." I shook her off. "That's enough. Sarah, we were a mistake. Let me go." I stood up and walked toward the light. This time, Sarah didn't follow. Peace comes when you let go. I think I finally figured out why I was trapped by her side. It was the engagement. I rubbed the ring on my finger. It felt hot. Why was I the one trapped when she threw hers away? The diamond glittered. I saw Sarah's face when she proposed to me. Her promises echoed in my ears. I looked down and took off the ring. It dissolved into light. I felt light, like I could fly. At the end of the light, I saw Julian. He was leaning against a wall, looking at me. "Why did she still choose you in the end?" he asked. I glanced at him. "None of your damn business." I kept walking. He yelled from behind me. "You're just leaving her? Don't you regret it?" I didn't answer. Regret? I was brave. I loved hard. I did nothing wrong. I'm not the one who should have regrets. Mike's story. I can't remember exactly which Friday it was. I had dinner with Ben and Sarah like usual, and then I left. Looking back, we said a normal goodbye. Oh, and then I never saw him again. Sarah didn't make it. She took too many pills and didn't want to live. Just like that, my family was gone. In the end, I couldn't dump her ashes in a sewer. We grew up together, so I found where she buried Julian, and I buried them together. I'm a genius. Ben's headstone has the quote he wanted. "This planet sucks, half a star, would not recommend." I visit him every few weeks. I clean the grave and pour him tea. Sometimes if I'm busy, I just pour soda. He can't tell the difference. Recently, clover started growing near his stone. When I walk up, they sway. It reminds me of the orphanage, when Ben would sit on the swing and wave at me. 5 years after I got married, my daughter was born. She was tiny, smaller than Ben was when he came to the orphanage. When the nurse handed her to me, I froze. Sucked. On her shoulder was a birthmark shaped like a clover. Julian's story. The first time I saw Sarah wasn't at the club. It was at a business presentation. The three of them sat together. Sarah watched Ben with total focus. She would pass him water or give him her jacket. I was jealous. My pathetic half-sister came up to me and said, "Dad will never give you an important project. The money is mine." My jealousy of Ben grew. What did it feel like to be loved like that? So that night at the club, I took a shot. She pushed me away, but we knew she was interested. The look on Ben's face was great. After that, she would glare at me. But seeing her calm face break because of me made me feel accomplished. In business, we were ruthless. In private, we fought dirty. I thought I was special to her. Later, I found out I was wrong. That bastard Mike buried Sarah next to me. Ghosts say that only souls without attachments can move on. Rarely, a soul might stay because of a bond. During that time, nobody can see them. Ben must be one of those cases. I can't move on. I have an attachment. My family used me. The person I loved used me for a thrill. I want someone to love me, but that's impossible. Sarah can't move on either. She hopes Ben will forgive her. That's impossible too. So here we are, stuck looking at each other in disgust, never to be reborn.